Welcome to Aviva Studios. Today we're going to talk about classic books I've read, as you can see. Hello, good morning. At least it's morning for me. Okay, so I'm going to go through the list again. I'm going to say the points faster, because, I said them before. But, I didn't do all the books before. Okay, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Is this a classic? I personally think it is. Great start to a series. I'm not sure if I call the other books classics. This one, I think it shook the world. In a big way, right? And I think all the books did that. And I'm wondering, does that mean they're classics too, right? Because and the fact that children who are 8 years old, children who are 8 years old, they started carrying home a 600-page book, and they read it. No, not 6 years old. Look, children who are 10 years old, they started carrying home a 600-page book called Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, right? Because of J.K. Rowling, right? That's pretty impressive, right? And that didn't happen before. The average 10-year-old wasn't reading 600-page books, right? But something about the writing is so smooth; it's so easy to get through. Right, okay, so what do I like about this book? Oh yeah, writing is smooth, easy to get through. It takes its time, right? We start with the Dursleys, which you think would be boring for a kid, but I don't know, something about the way she writes it, it's really fun, it's really easy to get through. And we learn about the character fully, we understand him, we understand his pain, and we don't actually get to Hogwarts until chapter 7. Which is a third of the way in, right? So it's less about magic and more about the character, which it should always be in a fantasy book, right? Character first, always. What else? Yeah, I love Harry Potter as a character. He's great here, and you really feel his pain. When he's looking in the mirror of when he's looking in the mirror of Erised, and he sees his parents. He sees a whole family of Potters, and he's does he get teary-eyed? I can't remember tears, but he's so obsessed with it for a series of days, right? And you feel that, right? I like that part. It's a very memorable part. Ron is the best character. Ron is the best throughout the entire series. Always has great moments. Hermione, I don't like Hermione. She's okay, right? But I think she was slightly annoying in this book. I don't think she's annoying in the other books, right? But I don't like her in this one. Professor McGonagall, strict, stern, but fair teacher. Don't remember much personality here, but I remember she was a good teacher, I guess. They set up Snape as a red herring in this. Harry thinks that Snape is no good, and he's partially correct, right? Because we find out later that Snape is a Death Eater, right? But he tries to save Harry's life, for reasons he doesn't understand. Not in this book, But like, wait. Oh wait, no, he does. I think Snape tried to save Harry, but I can't remember how he tried to save Harry. Like in every book, he's trying to save Harry. He's trying to help Harry out, even though he's a Death Eater, because he's loyal to he's got dual loyalty to Voldemort and to Dumbledore. I also I think I saw a comment somewhere where someone said Snape, the way Snape looks at Harry, right, is like there's like this internal battle going on, because Snape loved Harry's mother, but he hated Harry's father, right? So someone commented that Snape is trying to save Lily's son, but also he's incredibly mad at James's son, right? I remember that. That was an interesting comment. I don't know what else to say about it. Oh, Neville Longbottom. He was like he's set up here. He's got Pet Toad. Doesn't really do much. He's a cute character. I'm not sure what else to say, so I'm gonna end it here. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'll give this book an 8 out of 10. Great read. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, 8 out of 10. Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. Yeah, I like this one. I wasn't expecting this book to make me cry. It actually did make me cry. Same way that the movie made me cry. When I say the movie, I'm talking about the animated movie with the cute songs. Mother and Father Time. Absolutely gorgeous, right? Yeah, but the part near the end, the climax, yeah, that where she dies, that actually made me cry, right? It's been a while since I read this. I don't really remember much about Wilbur's character. Right. I remember he said he doesn't want to die. He wants to stay in his warm manure pile. Is that what he said in the book? Or was that just the movie? Right, it's kind of skipping me. But, like, the writing was decent, I guess. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Not that great of a book, but I don't know, the fact that it made me cry is something. Okay, next one. Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Okay, so I read this with audio. And I really want to get a physical copy and read myself, because when I read myself, I get to like reread lines, and I think it might stay with me more. But okay, so two things about the book. Okay, he's actually really good at writing a child character. Like one of those memorable scenes in the book is when this kid is making fun of Oliver, and then Oliver like flips out when he like gets too personal and starts talking about his mom and attacks him. Alright, and it feels real. It feels like a child character. And the second thing, oh yeah, the writing is just stunning. Charles Dickens, the English language is just perfect here. Or maybe it isn't. Like maybe I just need it. I don't know. If I read this with my eyes, will I change my mind? But I remember the audio being really good. The descriptions of people, right? There's always a character description, and the character description is always great. Definitely want to reread this. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So Oliver Twist, 7 out of 10. "1984" by George Orwell. I don't like this that much. I guess the writing was decent, because if a book doesn't have decent writing, I'm most likely not going to finish it. Right, so I finished it, so much. It did have decent writing. I remember really getting into those first few pages, right? Like, it was written smoothly. Winston is an unlikable character, which makes sense, because he's living in a world where, with all these frustrations, like it's very hard to be a good person when you when there's like 2 minutes of hate every day. The authoritarian government is interesting. Like it does sort of match on to our world a bit, right? Like this is a world where everyone is watching everyone, you know, cell phones. This is a world where, like, and you're being watched by Big Brother. Oh, and also, the population is getting stupider. Like, there's no reading, and the language is getting dumbed down. Interesting. You know, I watch videos about how kids today can't read, or like a 10-year-old is reading like a 6-year-old, which is just awful. You know, every kid should read. Every kid should read, man. What else can I say about it? What is the girl's name in this book? So he starts getting into okay, so he's married to a woman he doesn't love. Right, so he starts this like fling with a young woman, right? Who's like, I think she's like 20 years younger than him. Yeah, and her name's Julia. Right, so he starts this relationship with a girl called Julia, and I don't even think he loves her. I think he's just he has sex with her as an act of rebellion, right? Because he wants to rebel against the government who I think they assigned him a wife to have kids, but his wife is like barren, or maybe he's sterile, and they don't have kids. No one in your generation reads. That is so sad. I have a friend who said that she hated reading. Now, to be fair, she's got dyslexia, but I don't know. Still upsetting, but you know, not everyone has dyslexia though, so this is a problem. So I'm gonna give this book a 4 out of 10. One major thing that sticks out to me, besides the torture scene, is the part before he gets captured, where he reads this book to his new girlfriend, Julia. Right? The author basically inserts a book inside the book, which is a very strange decision. Like, and then at the end of the reading, his girlfriend falls asleep. Right? Like that part stuck with me. Besides the torture. So I'll give this a 4 out of 10. Decent writing, I guess. But I don't care for the character. I don't care for the plot. So. Right, but I can see why it's relevant. Right, like, you can see why it's relevant. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. If you want to keep a secret, you must hide it from yourself. Okay. Yeah, not the best quotes, I think. Okay, so Brave New World. Brave New World is actually better than 1984, in my opinion, because I think it understands the human condition better. It understands the human condition better because it's set in a world where everyone is pacified, right? And I think that represents us more, in my opinion, being pacified. Right. So they're hooked up on these pills called Soma that make them feel as good as they want to feel, and they don't have to face any unpleasant feelings. They have and they are genetically modified, right? This is a genetically modified world to do one thing and one thing only, right? So they'll be satisfied with whatever they're doing. So they make certain babies purposefully stupider so that they'll be satisfied doing grunt work. Right, so they've pacified a whole world into doing exactly what they need to do, and everyone is happy with it, right, because of Soma. The Soma pills. Demonstration of what might actually happen. Because it's something that people want. They want safety, right? So I could imagine a government convincing people, hey, we gotta do this to keep people safe, right? Because keeping people safe is a thing that people use all the time, you know, like, we gotta do this for your own good. Whereas you don't feel that in 1984 as much. In 1984, yeah, the plot of this is very simple. If you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil it. Right, but it basically is two characters, Bernardo and Lenina. They come out of the city, the place they live, where everything is, quote, perfect. I wish I could show you my fingers. Perfect. And they come out into the wilderness where the savage people live, and they have like a pagan religion, and they don't have Soma, and they don't have genetic modifying, so they're fat, they're imperfect, they don't look the best. And they have like some weird pagan religion. And they bring two of the savages back, like a man and his mother, right? So his mother actually used to be a part of the city that Bernardo and Lenina live in, but she escaped, I guess. She left. I can't remember why. And she had a son outside the walls, a son who was like born naturally and not genetically modified into a tube. So he's like a wild, savage man, and he doesn't live like the sterile people in that city. And he loses his mind when he sees them, right? He's like, no, I'm gonna save you from this, from Soma, from being brainwashed. But it doesn't work, right? And he eventually runs out, leaves. And I don't want to spoil the very end, but it was beautiful, great writing, decent story, even though it's very simple. It's plausible, very plausible dystopia, which what makes it work for me. So I'm gonna give Brave New World a 8 out of 10. Now, Fight Club. I'm not entirely sure if this is a classic, but I don't know, it feels like a classic. Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk. I liked reading this a little. I mean, I think I kind of just liked the fact that it was short. Like, it was easy to get through. But the writing was yeah, very short book, very easy to get through. I like the twist. The twist is nothing much, but I don't hate it. So, what is this book about? The book is about masculinity and consumerism, right? Where consumerism is making men these worker drones that have nothing to live for, right? And it says that we are God's middle children and we are absolutely nobodies, right? And Tyler Durden tries to say, okay, come on, we gotta be more than this. And he says, let's try to be God's enemy. I think he said that. Would you rather be God's enemy or no one? Right? And he says he wants to be God's enemy. So instead of, so the protagonist is fighting he's fighting the sterilization of this world, which is why I think he was the one who blew up his own house, so that something would change. Because he was so bored, he had to blow something up. He had to start a fight club, which is interesting, I guess. I kind of do want to read it again, just to just to pick up some littler details. But the ideas were, again, it has interesting ideas, but the writing is not great. If this book was written by someone else, I think I would like it more. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, because I do like the ideas. Versus this guy who's trying to be masculine, he's trying to be something in a world where everyone is nothing. I think that's the point of it. Next classic. What's your weird pagan belief? What's your weird pagan belief? Yeah. Okay, so okay, A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I don't like this. Now that I think about it, I don't really like it. The writing is good. I like it. I like this style, this way that he talks. Like I guess he's sort of narcissistic. He talks like a protagonist. He talks like he has the most important story. Oh, what does he call the audience? Oh, he and my brothers, something like that. And he speaks with a mixture of English and Russian slang. Women are referred to as babushkas, I think. And he's when he says "see," the word "see" is replaced with "vidi." What do you vidi over there? Which is there was a ton of words. Like there's a whole dictionary at the back for the words that he uses. That are Russian slang, right? All right, that's based in Russian, so that's interesting. This is basically a book about a murderer and a rapist who is brainwashed to be harmless, right? And the book tries to tell us that this is a bad thing. At least I think it's trying to tell us that it's bad that he was like brainwashed to being harmless, right? But that isn't actually what it's doing, because there's literally a quote that says, is it better for a man to choose evil or to be forced into good, right? But that isn't what's happening, because he's being brainwashed into being harmless. He never became good, right? So I disagree that he ever became good, which, I don't know, maybe the author would agree with me. Or maybe he would say, oh, he wasn't actually not evil. He was just harmless, and being harmless isn't good. Maybe that's what the author meant by this. And I guess and I would agree with that. It's better, I mean, I wouldn't say it's better to be evil than harmless, but it means something that you're evil. It doesn't mean something that you're harmless, right? Being harmless does not mean good. And if that's what the author meant, then I agree with that. But I'm not sure. The writing is decent enough for me to finish it, but it isn't amazing writing. It's just, it's just interesting slang, I guess. So, interesting concept. I don't feel like reading it again, so I'm gonna give it like 3 out of 10. Right? For the interesting concept, I'll give it 3 points. 3 out of 10 for Clockwork Orange. Heidi. I think this is a translated book. Is this translated? Oh yeah, I thought it was translated. I remember I read the abridged version of this book, right? uh, can you even say it's abridged? It was like a children's book that had took away most of the words, right? Like it wasn't abridged. It was like a sort of summary because like it was a rewrite that was shorter. Can you even say it's abridged? Right, and I like reading that abridged version. Later, I actually read the actual book, and I enjoyed that. Heidi's a decent character. I don't know, is she the first little girl character who like comes to a old curmudgeon and like warms his heart? I think it's a trope now. Was she like the first one? I'm not sure. I don't feel like reading this book again, but I think I might. So, Heidi's a decent character. The old man's fine. Like, there's nothing hateable about it. It's a cute story. Totally contemporary, I guess. I think it's a... Wait, is this contemporary? As in, like, when it was written about... Yes, it was written in 1880. So I think that this was considered a contemporary book in its time. Right, I think he wrote it for... I think Heidi was meant to be living in that period. Which is cool. I feel like fictional books that are contemporary are like time machines, right? They tell you what people's values were, what they were thinking. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. There's not much I can say about it because I read it years ago. Right, it really is like a time machine. You get to see this is what people valued. This is what people were thinking. Okay, The Hobbit. Or There and Back Again, which is a terrible name. Right, I like The Hobbit. I don't like The Lord of the Rings. I tried to read The Fellowship of the Ring. I remember getting through it. I had like 10 chapters left, and then I just quit. Because I didn't really care enough about the story. There's a part of me that wants to read the second book, The Twin Towers. The Two Towers. Out of curiosity, because I want to know how that section was written. But I don't feel like finishing The Fellowship of the Ring. I watched the Fellowship movie. It was alright. What's the guy's name? Elijah Wood, yeah. He looked, the blue eyes look kind of strange. Are they contacts? They feel like contacts. They don't look right. But, okay, let me talk about The Hobbit. I like this one. It's a cute story. So, Gandalf comes with a bunch of dwarves who need a burglar. Someone who can help them go into Smaug's cave. Right? And Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit they come to, is part Baggins and part Tooks. And the Took Hobbits were apparently more adventurous, right? And so that's why he decides to go on the adventure. It put a lot of emphasis on that. The fact that he's part Tooks, and that's why he goes on the adventure. Like, okay, like it's in your blood. Which is interesting. I mean, I don't believe that, right? Like, I don't believe that a seafaring family will have all children who really love the sea, right? Like, some of them might get sick of it, right? So he goes on the little journey. The most memorable part is, of course, the part with Gollum. Gollum gives him a bunch of riddles. And then he lucks his way out of that situation. He lucks his way out of danger. Alright, I think it happens at least 3 times. I'm not sure why he wrote that. I think... or maybe he wrote it because the whole point was luck, right? Like, it was lucky that Gandalf came and gave him a journey. And gave him this. And then he gets the ring, and it turns him invisible. Right? And the ring in the Fellowship turns out to be kind of dangerous, and it needs to be thrown in a volcano, which is I'm not sure what to say about it. There are songs in this, because I think there are songs in all his books, right? In The Hobbit and Fellowship. I don't remember the songs, but I think there were songs that they sang, right? I think they were cute because I thought the songs in Fellowship were cute. Yeah, so the most memorable part is with Gollum. And then at the end, Bilbo, after getting the treasure, after facing Smaug, he writes a book, apparently. It's been a while, right? All I remember is that it was a cute book. It was a nice story. I'll give it 7 out of 10. Okay, so now for a book that I actually remember a lot more of. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is actually amazing. It's a great story. He's very creative. So, you all know this, right? And you watched at least one movie that's an adaptation of The Christmas Carol. It's very great. So, there's 3 spirits here. The Ghost of Christmas Past, the Ghost of Christmas Present, and the Ghost of Christmas Future. Actually, that isn't it, right? It was actually... Yeah, because, like, the names were actually this. Right. Oh, no. It was the Ghost of Christmas Past, the Ghost of Christmas Present, and the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. Oh, yeah, so the first 2 are okay, right? So, which is interesting. So it didn't say the Ghost of Christmas Future, it said the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. Just a little tidbit. Right, and the Ghost of Christmas Past, I love that it's like this flickering flame that you can't see very clearly. Right, because you know how memory fades, right, because he's old. The Ghost of Christmas Present is this huge man on a throne, right, because it's present, right, it's the thing you're seeing right now, right, and it's very obvious and big. And the Ghost of Christmas Future is this dark thing in the distance that you can't fully make out, right, which is great, right, very creative. Like, I want to say something about Jacob Marley, right? So, Jacob Marley dies at the start. or he dies before the start. And Scrooge kind of just, I don't know, like, forgets him. Like, it isn't clear that he cared about Jacob, right? Like, I remember he says, "You were always a good man at business," right? Like, was there anything that he actually cared about Jacob? Like, did he actually ever care about Jacob? It sounds like he didn't. But Jacob cares about Scrooge, right? I don't know if he cared about him in life, but he cares about him now, right? And this is basically the definition of love, where Jacob tells, where Jacob gives Scrooge what he needs, right? To I'm so sorry. Jacob gives Scrooge what he needs to avoid his fate, right? So the idea is Jacob loves Scrooge so much, he's doing everything he can so that he doesn't end up with him, right? So, which is what love is. It's like you sacrifice everything, even the chance to be with a person, right? Which is very beautiful. So yeah, the three spirits: creative, the definition of love, and the ending is kind of the boringest plot, right? Where he just jumps up and says, "Hooray! I will celebrate Christmas. I will love it," right? But it's not long, you know. Like, it goes by. And yeah, it's a cute story. I like it. I can understand why it survived. This book, it influenced a whole generation. It got people to see the poor and to think about them more and make a big change. Because I think several of Charles Dickens' books did that, right? Charles Dickens wrote about the poor, like Oliver Twist. And A Christmas Carol doesn't really write about the poor here, right? But he has lines from the gentleman at the start who say, "Oh, there's a bunch of people who can't afford something, who can't afford this thing, and they don't want to go to prison. They would rather die." And then Scrooge says, "Oh, they would rather die than let them do it, and decrease the surplus population." Right, so it doesn't focus on the poor, but it does mention them, and that was very influential to a whole generation. Right, so it's a very, it's a historical piece of literature that means something to everyone, so that's why it's a classic. That's why it's a classic. Okay. This book is great. Peter Pan by Jane Barry. I read a physical copy, and I also read an audiobook. When I listened to audiobook, I liked it more. I actually started to like it more, right? I could see, because what makes the book work so well is the narrator, and when I heard it on audiobook, I loved the narrator even more than I did. I love the strange magic of this world, right? Like, I like Peter losing his shadow. I like okay, there's Peter losing his shadow. There's something that happens with the kids. Like, oh yeah, the kids apparently they have like imaginary friends, right? Who are in Neverland, right? Like, for instance, Wendy has like a wolf, right? That's in her imagination, but it's also in Neverland for a little bit, which was interesting. Oh, and I like the stars that were punished, right? Who used to talk to people, but then until they were punished, and now they can't talk to people anymore. but they can talk to Peter Pan, and they tell him to, and they urge him on as he goes to the Darling's window. I think, like little magical details that you can't picture in your mind, right? Like you can't picture what it's like for Star to talk, right? It's just something on a page. And it's also used for like things that are sort of terrifying, like imagery that you can't imagine, right? Like when it says that Peter alters the Lost Boys' bodies so that they can fit in treehouse, can fit inside the hideout, right? Like you can't even picture that, right? But it's there. Like there's lots of things maybe you could picture it, which are things that they put in the movies, right? But anything that you can't picture, it's not in the movies because they don't